Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. This should be a fun one. We're talking about how to fix the Giants. We're talking about the edge room finally. But before we get into this video, if this is your first time on the channel, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. If this is not your first time seeing my face talking Giants football and you're not subscribed to the channel, then shame on you. But you can still save yourself by hitting that like and subscribe button right now if you're a New York Giants fan, the way that I'm a New York Giants fan and I bleed blue through and through. Now let's talk about this edge room. Some bright spots, some not so bright spots. Number one on the list, we're going to be talking about Kon Tibido. Double-digit sacks in his second year. 11 and a half, I believe, is what he finished with. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I believe it was 11 and a half because I was trying to get that man to 15 sacks. That was my goal that I set for Kon Tibido, especially when he started off hot. But like I said, we didn't get to 15. I'll take the double-digit sacks. And I believe that the stat was this is the first time someone, an edge in the Wink system, had double-digit sacks, and Kon Tibido was able to do that. So going into the 2024 season, I hope that he can continue to progress in the right direction. Pass win rate went down a little bit. Hopefully that goes back up. But again, at the end of the day, it's about getting to the quarterback, and he has improved, in that stat line. Now, the not so bright spot, Aziz Ojulari. Let me tell you something about Aziz Ojulari. I have a love and hate relationship with Aziz Ojulari. I had higher expectations for Aziz. Obviously, the injuries set him back. The injuries last year set him back. Now everybody's thinking, including myself, is he injury prone? Is he reliable? Can I depend on Aziz Ojulari? Smart, tough, dependable. That's what they're looking for, right? Smart, tough, and dependable. Aziz is smart, Aziz is tough, but is he dependable? With the injuries, we don't know. So we can't go into the 2024 season, pinning or penciling in Aziz Ojulari as the number 2 edge. I think we need to find a replacement, a real true number 2 that we can depend on. If you put Aziz Ojulari as a rotational piece, fantastic. I think he's a great rotational piece. Third down, get him out there. He can rush the passer. But we need a dominant type of guy, opposite of Kon Tibido, in order for this team to take the next step, in my opinion, especially when we're talking about pass rush. Now, other notable names coming back to the New York Giants in 2024 at the edge spot, we got Basham, Carlos Basham, or Boogie Basham. Again, a fantastic name. With a name like Basham, you should be a lot better or a lot more productive in your game. Still a young player. I believe he's 2-3 years in. We do have him. We traded the Bills for him. I believe we swapped like 7-round picks, something like that. But anyway, we have Boogie Basham. I believe he still makes the team. I think he's another guy that's just a rotational piece. And you know what? Rotational pieces are good to have. And then another notable name, didn't really play this year at all. I believe he was on the IR, is Ryder Anderson. Ryder Anderson flashed a little bit in the 2022 season. A guy that came from, I believe it was Indiana. So he played with Micah McFadden at Indiana. UDFA, was able to do a couple of things. Got hurt, didn't see him all of 2023. But again, this is just some of the notable names in the edge room, or defensive end or edge room, depending on what the strategy is going to be, what the scheme is going to be once we hire this new DC. So just some of those names. Now, leaving the New York Giants from the edge room, we got a couple of guys. Carter Coughlin is one, listed as an edge outside linebacker, can play middle linebacker and outside linebacker, special teams guy. Don't believe that we re-signed Carter Coughlin. Cam Brown is another name on this list. Free agent, special teams guy. He possibly could be back. I don't think you bring back Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown. You're probably picking one of those two. But those are some of the guys that are leaving. Now, here's the thing. I want to talk about a certain player, Darrian Beavers. Now, Darrian Beavers coming off of the ACL, his rookie year in preseason, got the ACL injury, but he looked like he was coming along, and he looked like he was going to be the guy playing middle linebacker next to Bobby Okereke. Mike McFadden had a strong preseason, had a pretty solid to okay regular season this year playing with Bobby Okereke, and it's all about who you're playing next to. His rookie year, you got guys like Jalen Smith, Tate Crowder, stuff like that. They brought in a real linebacker in Bobby Okereke, and you saw Micah McFadden, excel. Now, talking about Darrian Beavers, now this is a guy that can have some versatility. Obviously, we have him listed as a middle linebacker, but he also had a couple of snaps in college as an edge, DN edge. And if I'm the New York Giants, and I know I got this guy for a couple more seasons due to his contract, or if I still believe that I can do something with a guy like Darrian Beavers, go ahead and get him in that rotation on the outside to see if he can give you a little bit of an edge rush. Now, when we talk about the free agents, when you're talking about outside linebacker, the big edges out here on the free agent market, you hear names like Brian Burns, Josh Allen with the Jaguars. And let me tell you this. First off, we do not have the money to go after a guy like Brian Burns or a guy like Josh Allen. Don't have enough money for that. Now, would it be great? Will there be some magical way that you can make the cap work? If that's the case, then fantastic. If you can get a guy like Josh Allen, if you can get a guy like Brian Burns in the building, you go ahead and do that. Now, I absolutely believe that if those guys do not get a new contract, that they're going to get tagged. They're going to get tagged by their teams. You don't let big defensive ends, leave like that. And I got my handy dandy notebook looking at this list. So that was Brian Burns. That's Josh Allen. Again, those are guys that are high on everybody's list. They're trying to get those guys away from their teams right now. But just the money alone, I think the New York Giants can't play in that field. Another guy, Leonard Floyd. And it's like, okay, another Buffalo guy. Well, we remember that Leonard Floyd was on our list. We wanted to draft Leonard Floyd, and we got jumped for him. He played with the Rams, played with the Bills, had some success. I believe played with Chicago, was drafted by Chicago, actually. Is a solid guy. To have on the roster. Cost you, I think the market value on Spot Rack was about $8 million. I have my handy dandy notebook out here. Another name on this list is Chase Young. Chase Young from San Francisco. $13 million market value. To me, I don't believe he's worth $13 million. Doesn't have the track record for it. Injury history. You're banking on hope if you're paying that man $13 million, and they got it like a one-year contract. So it's like a prove-it deal for $13 million. No, if we're going to be investing, we need guys here for a few years and to build on something. If you were a team that you're one player away, you just need somebody in your rotation, maybe you can do that to help you, get you over the hump. But for the New York Giants' sake, I don't think Chase Young is a viable option at $13 million, especially if you're talking about like a one-year prove-it deal. Now, here's some guys that I'm intrigued with. And the first guy is going to be a little bit older, is Derrick Hunter from the Vikings. 29 years old, be 30 when the season starts, but still has a lot of good football left. Now, he's going to cost you about $20 million. Now, again, depending on what happens with the Xavier McKinney contract, who we're signing, that's a big chunk of change. That is a big chunk of change, but it is a really good player. And again, if I take the same philosophy, if the New York Giants were moving in a direction of, we're Super Bowl contenders, then a guy like Derrick Hunter, I would definitely bring to the team. But to me, again, we're talking about how many years does he have left, and then when will the New York Giants be ready to compete for real? For real, we don't know yet. We could end up making the playoffs next year. We don't know. It's different situations. But am I banking on making the playoffs next year? Am I banking on being a Super Bowl contender next year? Absolutely not. So a lot of these bigger names, older guys, I'm really not, interested in, and I don't think that the New York Giants make a play. And again, I could be absolutely wrong. Now, there's one name on this list that I have circled, and that's AJ Espinoza from the Buffalo Bills. Again, I understand we don't want to be the New York Bills. We don't want to be the Buffalo Giants. I understand that. But AJ Espinoza is a talented guy that didn't quite live up to his draft hype or where he was picked at. I believe he was a second rounder, but he had some good hype coming out of Iowa. And obviously looked at as a good defender. Had one of his better years this year. I didn't follow his career that closely, but I remember during the draft, during that draft season, hearing about AJ Espinoza and, pretty much saying, he has good technique. He's going to be coached well coming out of Iowa. Can the New York Giants give this guy new life possibly. And when I look at the market value for AJ, we're talking about $5.6 million 2-year deal. You know what I mean? So you're looking at a nice contract for a guy that you're banking on some upside. And again, if you pair a guy like AJ up with Kon Tibido, I think that's a viable option and a good option for the New York Giants to go with in this free agent season. But that's going to be the free agent market again. The trend in all of these videos fixing the Giants has always been this season, or this preseason, this offseason, is building throughout the draft. And then let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about some of these these edges that are in the draft. So obviously you have your first rounders like Latu, Jared Verse. Those guys are gonna go pretty high. You're talking top 10, top 15, definitely top 20, both of these guys. Now the New York Giants do hold the 6th pick. Depending on what the situation is and where you're sitting at, obviously a lot of people want to go get the quarterback. For me, in order of importance, for me, it's quarterback, edge, O-line, cornerback. That's where I'm at right now. I'm sorry. And then also you want to throw wide receiver in there. I do believe those other positions are more of a need than wide receiver, but the talent at wide receiver, especially when you're picking at 6, is just too much to try to pass up. But Latu and Jared Verse, 2 options in the first round. When I get into the second round, and this is a sweet spot. Now, there's 2 guys that I like a lot. They could go late first into the second. I'm hoping that they can fall to us in the second. Either one of these guys. First guy is going to be the guy that's very, very high on my list. You heard me say his name before, and that's Braylon Trice. Absolutely high on my list. If he can somehow get out of the first round, and we're sitting there with our second round pick, I definitely would look at Braylon Trice. Another guy with maybe our second round pick is going to be Chris Braswell out of Alabama. Roll Tide. You already know what it is when it comes to that. Another solid player, good size, good length. Another guy that you can pair up on the other side of Kon Tibido. Both of those guys, actually. And I think those 2, doesn't matter if you're running the 4-3 or the 3-4. I think they both can be an edge or either a DN when it comes to the scheme. Another guy that has been shooting up because of the Senior Bowl is Darius Robinson out of Mizzou. Again, still viewed as a late day 2, in my opinion, early day 3 guy. Depending on what happens with more of these practices with the Senior Bowl, and then also, when the Senior Bowl game comes, and then also with the Combine Pro Days, you might see this guy shoot up the list a little bit. And another guy is going to be from Penn State, Aziz Isaac. Now I know I didn't mention Chop Robinson. I think Chop Robinson falls into that area where the New York Giants aren't picking, and it's too rich to go Chop Robinson at 6. And then he's probably gone by the time you get to the second round. So that's why I didn't add him to my list of targets. But his teammate, Aziz Isaac, also at the Senior Bowl, is a guy that I'm looking at in that 2nd to 3rd round range. And then another 2nd to 3rd round guy is a guy out of Oregon, Brandon Dorless. Good length, also very strong, productive. And yeah, it's some good talent at the defensive end and at the edge spot in this draft. And again, the trend of these videos has been, I should say, you got to build within the draft. We don't have a lot of money. We have to build the farm. We got to keep this cap healthy. And the only way you can do that is by good drafting. So that's going to be the video, how to fix the Giants, talking about the edge room. I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dad Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.